I never imagined that surviving something so terrible could also become the beginning of losing everything else. It started on an ordinary evening. We were sitting in the living room, dinner untouched, the TV humming quietly in the background. My wife, Mia, looked nervous. More nervous than she had during any of her hospital visits. She kept twisting her fingers together, like she was bracing herself for impact. She finally said she needed to talk. When I asked what was wrong, she took a deep breath and told me that beating cancer had changed her. Facing death, she said, made her realize how short life really is. She didn't want to waste any more time. First, I thought I understood. Mia had always dreamed of traveling. We were never financially comfortable enough to make it happen, but I was ready to try. I told her I'd pick up extra shifts, maybe even a second job. I promised her we'd see the world together. She smiled, but it wasn't relief. It was hesitation. "That's not what I meant," she said quietly. Then she dropped the sentence that knocked the air out of my lungs. She told me she wanted to sleep with other men, while staying married to me. I couldn't process it. My mind went blank like someone had hit a reset switch. When I finally found my voice, I told her I couldn't do that. I loved her, but I couldn't share her. The thought alone made my chest ache. She didn't take it well. She accused me of holding her back, of denying her a real life after everything she'd endured. She said I couldn't understand what it was like to stare death in the face. I felt guilty. I still do. I suggested she find other ways to feel fulfilled. New hobbies, new routines, things that didn't involve breaking our marriage apart. After a long silence, she reluctantly agreed. But something shifted after that conversation. Over the next few weeks, Mia started coming home later than usual. First, she blamed work, deadlines, projects, team meetings. I believed her because I wanted to. Then one night, she came home wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Red. Elegant. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled like she was stepping out of a magazine. She looked happy, radiant even. I asked her why she had changed outfits after work. She said it was an after-hours office event. Morale booster. Company funded. When I asked why spouses weren't invited, she gave a vague answer and headed upstairs. That was the first night I felt something settle in my gut. A quiet unease I didn't want to name. Soon the changes became routine. Makeup every day. New clothes. Expensive perfume she only wore when she was out alone. She talked endlessly about men. Men at work, strangers at stores, even my own friends. Our dates disappeared. Every plan I made was brushed aside. Yet she always seemed to have energy to go out. Just not with me. I kept telling myself this was healing, growth, survival. But deep down I felt like I was being slowly erased. I tried to convince myself that I was imagining things, but the more I ignored my instincts, the more dangerous the truth became. The hardest part wasn't the late nights, it was the silence between us. Mia and I used to talk about everything. Now our conversations barely scraped the surface. A quick, "How was your day?" A reminder to buy milk. Nothing more. Meanwhile, her world seemed to be expanding, just without me in it. She talked about men constantly. A guy at work who was brilliant. Another who was charming. A stranger who hit on her at the grocery store. She told these stories with excitement, like they were small victories. I wasn't the jealous type, but hearing her light up while describing other men made something twist inside me. Game nights became unbearable. When my friends left, Mia would comment on how cute or funny they were. I noticed the way her eyes lingered. I started canceling gatherings, not because I didn't trust my friends, but because I couldn't stand the images forming in my head. Eventually, I couldn't stay silent anymore. One evening, I cooked her dinner and gently brought it up. I told her I noticed the changes. The makeup, the late nights, the way she talked about men. I admitted it made me feel insecure. She exploded. She called me controlling, said I was paranoid, accused me of punishing her for surviving cancer. She insisted she wasn't doing anything wrong and that I didn't understand what she'd been through. I apologized. That night, I lay awake replaying the conversation. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was projecting my fears onto her. Maybe this was just what finding herself looked like. But one thought wouldn't leave me alone. Why was she only finding herself around other men? Soon after, the weekend trip started. Sometimes it was girls' time. Other times work. Whenever I asked questions, she got defensive. So I stopped asking. Then one night, she sat me down and asked if we could open our marriage. She talked about rules, boundaries, honesty. She said we'd both be happier. Less jealousy. More freedom. I felt my heart crack all over again. I told her I didn't want anyone else. I only wanted her. She cried, begged, said cancer had awakened something inside her, a hunger for life she couldn't ignore. Against every instinct I had, I agreed. And the moment I said yes, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. I thought agreeing would save our marriage, but it was only the beginning of my slow unraveling. Opening the marriage didn't bring clarity, it brought constant fear. Mia stayed out later. Sometimes she didn't come home at all. Her phone was always on silent. I barely slept, haunted by images I couldn't escape. Every time she mentioned a man, my stomach dropped. I stopped hosting friends. I stopped smiling. One of my closest buddies, Chad, noticed. He reached out asking if I was okay. I lied and told him a family member had passed. Mia seemed happier than ever. 2 months later, I hit my breaking point. When she finally came home after being gone for days, I told her I couldn't do it anymore. I said the open marriage was destroying me. For the first time in a long while, she looked sincere. She apologized, promised it was over, said we'd close the marriage. I felt relief like I hadn't felt in months. For a while things improved. She came home on time. We laughed again. I thought we were healing. Until she started joking about opening the marriage again. Then she stopped joking. That night I did something I never thought I would. I went through her phone. And that's when I saw the truth. I thought I was bracing myself for heartbreak, but I was nowhere near prepared for who the betrayal came from. The message was simple. Good night. I love you. The name attached to it made my hands go numb. My best friend. Their messages went back months, years even. Trip, money, plans, promises. They were together before she ever asked me for permission to stray. Cancer hadn't changed her desires. It had exposed them. When I confronted her the next morning, she begged, cried, claimed it meant nothing, said she stayed because she loved me. But the truth was already carved into my chest. I told her I was leaving. Walking away felt like death, but staying would have destroyed what little of me was left.